in the council chambers at 803 West Holland in the city of Alpine, Texas, for the purpose of considering the attached agenda. This notice is posted pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043, Texas Government Code. Public notice: the use of cell phones are prohibited in the city council chambers during meeting of the city council. Members of the audience will be provided an opportunity to address the council during public hearings and during action items. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium. State your name and address. If you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please present it to the city secretary. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda. But if appropriate, the council may schedule the topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor and/or city council members may call a point to order to stop the personal attacks. If an individual continues to personally attack an elected official or staff member in a meeting, they may be barred. Call this meeting to order, and we have no one with the invocation. Okay, so we just have a moment of silence. You.
Dear Lord, I'd ask that you please look over this council.
Let's stand up first.
Dear Lord, I'd ask that you please look over this council and this community. Let this council deliberate wisely and try to do their best for the citizens of this community. Let us remember those persons who suffered in our neighboring city of El Paso, and let love, not hate, come over this land. Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you all very much. Do we have a quorum?
Mayor, we do have a quorum with an excused absence from Councilor Olivas.
Okay.
The notice was posted at 2 p.m. on August 9th, 2019.
Okay, thank you. We have no presentations or recognitions today, and I have no report, so we'll go to the city manager report.
Okay. I've got a lot to report.
Okay.
The weekly department meetings, I'm going to itemize by department. And on our vendors, just real quick, I received the last invoice from Mick McCamey for a total of $5,047. The only concern I have is that he was terminated on the 19th. And on the 19th and on the 22nd, he charged us for 2 drafts that were being submitted and legal opinions that were sent to the city manager and the mayor. So with council approval, may I strike those 2 items off of his bill since he was no longer?
The one item on an opinion that I asked for was before he was terminated. I don't know about the other one. So you might want to check the date on that.
Okay, because he dated it 7/22.
Yeah, no. No.
So, but I will double check on that real quick.
Yes, okay, appreciate it.
The building inspector's position. We've reached out, I asked Lorena to reach out to our surrounding cities, Fort Stockton, Monahans, Presidio, Odessa, Midland, to see if there was an inspector that would like to come in once a week to take care of our issues. Just because Victor had left that in place right before he left. So I was just kind of following up on that.
Okay, do we have any takers on that?
Fort Stockton said that they would contact us back, right?
They will listen for offers. I need to contact them tomorrow to see if they send a proposal as a contract.
Okay, because I got contacted by AEP, and I think I referred them back to you to see what we were working on.
I got an email from AEP stating that they were going to suspend.
Financial like 6.
Right here, Alpine City permit inspections from Griselda Calzada.
Mhm.
She says she's emailing, requesting some direction regarding city inspections in Alpine. Currently, they understand that the city of Alpine does not have a city inspector to release electrical permits to customers, and asking if we want AEP to complete orders and connect service to customers without an inspection. And if that's the case, we will need a letter from the city of Alpine on a letterhead requesting us to bypass the inspections until further notice. So I need to get direction on that as well.
Counselor, can you handle that?
I can, it's sort of a quandary because I need to have building permits and we need to have inspections and things that are underway. But we can't really stop building in the city in the meantime.
And
So
correct
if
me,
I may comment, our ordinances 18-1 relative to inspections says the city may inspect. It is not a requirement to inspect. Relative to ordinance 18-2, it requires you must have a permit, so there's no change there. So they still have to comply with getting a permit. And then all the other ordinances say you have to comply with the IBC. So in my opinion, and Cynthia, you can sort out how to go work it, since we are not obligated to do an inspection, I would think the city approach would be take pictures prior to closing it up. That way it's available to go along with the permit. But we as a city, while we have the ordinance, we say we may, we do not obligate it or do not have to do it. But people do have to comply.
Okay.
So if somebody's gonna get a permit to do electrical, change out their electrical, whatever, can it just be any person that does that, or they have to be an electrician?
I would think it would have to be an electrician.
Yeah, because.
Well, yeah, they still gotta be licensed electrician, licensed plumber, they still have to meet all their license requirements,
Okay.
and have to comply with the IBC, International Building Code.
That's
The only
somebody
thing
out there.
is, the city does not
Digging around.
require an inspection, it's up to the city whether they choose to or not.
Yeah, because they gotta pull that meter, they gotta call
Yeah.
AEP on that.
So I think I could write a letter to AEP that complies with the ordinance. And I think what Councilor Stevens is suggesting is probably the best way to go forward on a temporary basis. That if to pull a permit, the permit has to be, if they're gonna do remodeling, it has to be by licensed subcontractors. And that no further inspection will be required.
And we've gotta be careful also that you've got some electricians that will borrow a licensed electrician's permit. So we've gotta be careful that it is actually a licensed electrician that does it. And
That's
not
gonna be up
somebody
to the permit clerk to review that.
Yeah, not that it's a subcontractor just using his license.
And that was one of the issues, because Big Bend Salary, he actually visited with Scott at Old City Hall, and they submitted engineer blueprints, and Scott issued the building permit and a card today,
Okay.
just so they could move forward on.
Yeah, so because they're expanding out there.
Yes.
Okay. So we can handle that one, right? Then on the permit for AEP. Okay.
And we hired Tony Katani to replace the permit tech, Izzy, because he's going back to PD at the
Okay.
end of this month. So Tony started last week. And according to Scott, he's learned quickly and has actually done fairly well. Actually, Izzy transferred back to PD as of today.
Okay.
Okay. I also had a contact from Nairi Williams from AT&T. He wanted to reach out to us to discuss giving the police department priority access to the FirstNet network for all mobile solutions.
Yes. Would you like to have him meet with us, or?
Yes, he'd like to see when we could schedule a meeting
Okay.
and have him come. So I don't know if you want him to come for the presentation.
Yeah, Let's
20th
do that, yeah. Let's get him out here to do a presentation.
for info and discussion?
Mhm.
Okay.
And again, what's the purpose? What are they trying to do?
They're trying to reach out to us to discuss giving the police department priority access through the FirstNet network for all mobile solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The visitor center. They completed 595 event packets last week of events that are happening in Alpine. We had a pop-up tent at the Holland Hotel for Viva Big Band with 1,400 visitors. They've seen 1,979 visitors as of July through the, so far through the, to up to date. And they've asked to set up a tent at the Knife and Gun Show over the Labor Day weekend. And that was what I was mentioning. They want us to participate in that, but Dave Lambricks will not waive the setup fee for it.
He's not the president of the Lions Club. We'll have to reach out to the president and talk to him. Okay?
Okay.
If we're not selling guns at the gun show, they should give us a free table.
Right.
The paying for the table is for people that are selling guns.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't see, I mean, this also kind of benefits them because people have more interest to come back the following year and attend the gun club, the gun
and Knife Show?
yeah, gun night show, yes.
And we want to go do a little sightseeing around the area.
Yeah. I mean, they're staying at our hotels and whatnot. So, I don't see, let me find out who the president is and I'll talk to him. I'll talk to Avi also.
Almanac?
Yeah, because I think it's either him or, was it Ahmed?
Uh,
One of the two are the.
I think it's
Ahmed,
Ahmed.
the president.
Ahmed is the president. Now,
Okay, and for the water department, there was a water and sewer tap done on 724 at 608 North Phelps. On 728, we had a leak at 2303 West Highway 90, and we lost 250,000 gallons.
well,
On 729, there was another sewer tap on Berkeley Street, and that was done by our subcontractors of AG Oilfield Services. And I have yet to see or find that contractor, so I don't know where that is. On 731, there was the leak at Los Ranchos Estate, and we also lost 250,000 gallons there. A leak at the airport, Big Bend Telephone hit a 1-inch service line. 8-1, a leak on Cactus replaced a 6-inch line. A leak at 201 South Dorrell replaced a 3/4 service line. On 8-5, a leak at 805 West Brown and replaced a curb stop, not much water loss. A water tap at 1201 Lechuguilla, also being done by the subcontractor. 8-6, located for street department on Anthem between 6th and 7th because they had requested work to be done, and Maria Curry had followed up on that. Johnny met with me about the Park Hill, or no, I'm sorry. On 8-6, Johnny met with Jessica and the Park Hills about the water and sewer maps. I don't know where those are or what came of that. There was a leak on Avenue I and Chaston. Fire hydrant contractor hit an 8-inch water line. A leak at the swimming pool and is in the process of being repaired. On 8-8, a leak at Pierce Tank and replaced the 12-inch line. We lost 200,000 gallons. Existing leak that are still being repaired is Perry View number 7, 8th and Murphy and Avenue F, 910 on East Avenue I, Fort Davis between 6th and 7th. The Pierce Tank had another leak that was repaired. Taps that were paid for but still waiting to be installed at 1909 North 6 for water and sewer. The following are improvements recently made at the plant, and this is at the wastewater. The new control panel for the RAS pit installed on 7/4 after a 6-week wait has been completed, and the work was done. And the panel had to be made, which caused us to have to babysit the RAS pit day and night until the panel was ready. The new float system was installed in the RAS pit on July 4th. A second RAS pump was replaced on 7/23 due to wear and tear. New equipment installed in the chlorinator room on 8/8. The previous equipment was very outdated with leaks were causing health hazard and it was unable to be repaired. This upgrade is working very well now. The new portable building office will be connected to water, sewer, electricity, and we are using new construction and the project should be completed by the end of September. I met with Johnny and Michael this morning. The only aerator that is up and running has a oil leak now.
You know, it's one that we've been babysitting for some time now.
And the second one is down completely. We have 2 aerators that were purchased by Jay Corey that are still sitting there that did not fit and we can't use. They were very concerned because if this aerator goes down,
Yeah.
we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on forever, because I went up there about 2 years ago, and only one motor was working. The 2 that Jay bought are not compatible to the mounts, and you can't modify the base on it because you compromise
Right.
the tank.
And there are no TCEQ complaints on the drying beds. There's not sufficient area to waste in. They have to hire a mobile belt press to assist with wasting. Twice that they've hired this year for $30,000 each service visit. They want an improvement on the dewatering system. A belt press is desired. They found a couple of companies offering the refurbished units for $150,000 or a new one for $300,000. The Skinners needed to replace both clarifiers and bar screen to prevent clog during after hours and to decrease the amount of trash entering the plant, the wastewater. Electrical hazards, and an assessment needs to be done and work needs to be done to eliminate those hazards. Talking to the guys this morning, the aerator will be about $150,000. It's barely running with the oil leak. The belt press estimated at $60,000 and the bar screen at $40,000.
I mean, that wastewater plant, as city council, we need to address that, make that a top priority.
I totally
This
agree.
thing's got a Band-Aid on it, and one day's gonna collapse, and really he's sitting.
And according to Johnny and Michael this morning, it's not gonna probably make another 2-3 months. So, I mean,
So Cynthia,
yes, sir.
what do they recommend?
Well, they recommend that we actually get one aerator, a new one, and then once that gets installed, then they can take the other one down and maybe send that one off to get refurbished. And then it would just come back and we would have 2 up and running. Of course, we have the issue that we don't have a backup in the event. They both go down.
So right now, I presume there's money in the budget to take care of it this fiscal year. So do you need any approval from council to be able to move forward on that? Or is it in the budget that we have for this year?
We don't have the funding for the budget that we have this year or the one that's been adopted or that's been proposed because we're gonna work off this same budget again next year.
No, I'm talking about the budget we have for this year, so we know we have an underrun in that area by several $100,000 to what our budget was. Okay, so that should not be an issue, so funding's available.
Okay.
The question is, do you need authority from council to move forward, or can you as the acting city manager move forward with that procurement now?
I would need approval from council because anything over 50,000 needs to come to council for approval.
And how soon?
But Mayor and Council, I'd also suggest if you're talking about an aging sewer plant that's going to require constant upgrades like this to fix it that are expensive, that you might ask the city manager to get whoever's doing the water and sewer system engineering studies to look at it, to give y'all a report on what they think, because they might say, well, yeah, put this Band-Aid on it, but we need to start planning for a new one. Or they might say, here's a better way to fix it.
Yeah.
The experts know that.
That,
And if you're talking about spending $150,000, it seems to me it might be prudent to get an expert to tell you what you might really need.
Yeah, so my concern, Rod, is we've been going through expert after expert. We take months to get there. We'll be here in a month of Sundays before we get anything done.
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about doing that before this Band-Aid is done. I'm just talking about in the long term.
moving forward, yeah, because that thing, I mean, we've got an aging sewage plant down there, and it needs a complete overhaul. From the electrical panel that gets zapped, there aren't any more, they have to rebuild it from scratch. And that it took 6 weeks to get this one up and running. So, yeah, we need to really look at that, concentrate on that.
Because the numbers that they gave us, we're looking at about 250 to 260,000 to replace those three. Not even touching the electrical panel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we need to get those items fixed. Just go ahead and, I guess, buy one. I mean, this council's approval to at least buy one while the other one is getting overhauls. We'll have a stand on. Because right now, there's no backup at all.
There's nothing. They said if we go down, we're in trouble.
Yeah. So I think we as council need to really move on this ASAP.
So Cynthia, I would think for the next council meeting, which would be a week from today, you would bring in a proposal with what you need approval for to make sure we can go get that new aerator, the pump, get it working, to buy ourselves some time, and the money necessary to go get the other one out to go get worked.
Okay.
And we'll at least then buy the time necessary to go do the longer term evaluation. But it sounds like you're talking about $250,000 to be able to go do that, which goes back to why I raised the issue during the budget cycle about what our appropriate rate study ought to show, because at $15.55 a piece right now, we're not generating enough revenue to maintain that wastewater system in the state that it needs to.
Yes, sir. I agree.
And what about those two other pieces that you said that one piece, can we sell those or try and?
Actually, Johnny and Michael said they were gonna try and get those sold and maybe put them on the buy board.
Well, yeah,
And
that'll
see
be
if
a
we
good
can get
idea.
them out there because they're just
They're
deteriorating out
Yeah,
there.
so we don't.
Yeah, that's been on the law for some time now to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And they're sitting right there on the pad. They have been there since day one. When Jay bought them, he didn't bother to look, make sure they were gonna be able to mount them. So, and they're outdated also.
I'm gonna pass this around, and I can scan it and email you, Rick. Pam Klaus brought this, and she said it's got our seal on it, and someone okayed this, and she's wanting to print, but it's gonna cost us $70. And I'm gonna need to see if we choose to do this, what line item I can get that out of.
What is that, Cynthia?
It's like a map. Pam Klaus brought it in.
It's a tourist information map of Alpine, Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry, you switched gears, okay,
Yeah.
Just trying to stay at speed of where we're at, okay.
Let's get, first of all, to take out the sewer plant. On the two items that we need to get work on it ASAP. So let's put that on the agenda, for next month's for council approval. And then,
Didn't you say we needed a belt or something?
Well, they need a belt press, the bar screen, and the aerator.
yeah, find out which is top priority. I
They
think
basically told me all three of them.
all three of them. Okay, well, let's
Because the screen is not working properly, and when the stuff comes through, it's
They're having to pick
sipping
it.
through it, and they're having to manually
manually do it,
clean
yeah.
it out.
Yeah. so-
Let's get a total price.
You, in my view, Cynthia, bring in the list for all four, what the cost is, so
Okay.
council can talk about it on August 20th.
Okay,
You know, looking at this, for months I've been looking for all the peaks. And there's none, this is the closest thing that we
and I
have
don't
to.
know where Pam picked that up, or,
She developed that actually when I was working at the Chamber of Commerce, the Visitor Center. That's when she did that.
Yeah, I had to go
And
buy it.
it's like the best thing, cause you just pull it out and show them.
Yeah, I went and bought a book, but it doesn't have all the peaks or the sites that usually your tourists are always asking about.
Okay, you guys ready to move on? Okay, community service hours. The county reached out to the recycle center and was told that, Adelina was told that we were on their list to generate community service hours for, anyone on probation and parole.
Okay.
We did have one though that she was a little concerned about because the individual, was a sex offender.
I saw him out there.
You saw him out there?
And I took him there recycling.
Yeah, so he was there a couple of hours and she got a little concerned and she asked me to go ahead and see that they would find another place for him to go. But I don't know if we need to actually look at this later and see if we need to put anything in place of who can or cannot be out there.
Is
Sex
Chief
offenders are not
Scout
supposed
still
to be.
on vacation?
Pardon me?
Chief Scout is still on vacation?
Chief Scout?
Okay, I guess
He's
Daryl
gone.
did.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Okay, he's gone, period. Okay.
Daryl took over August 1st.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and tell him to speak. Actually, we got Hector. He's going, no. But no, let's talk to the acting chief to screen these guys, extra traffic tickets, DWIs, minor offenses that, they're habitual, that, they can be trusted out there. Because, you're so far out there that you don't want, safety to be compromised.
And how many people are out there? It's her, two of us or just her?
Let's talk about this for a minute. I heard something different. Okay, I didn't hear that we, the city, are sending them out there.
No.
It's the county is sending them out
The
there.
county or
So the
APD?
first thing in my view needs to go back is, and Maria, this falls in your court, I think, in coordination with the county, before the county issues anything about asking the city to take responsibility for anything, they need to close the loop with the city first. And so I would think, I would think we would be supportive of doing community service, but in my opinion, relative to a registered sex offender, I'm not in favor of that. Being out in parks or at the treatment or at the Hal Flanders Center, that in my mind just does not make good sense at all. But I would certainly think before the county tasked us, they ought to have a conversation with the city.
And I don't know where this
That's, in my
list,
mind, nuts.
I don't know where this list came from. I don't know who generated it and approved it or said that the city to be on that list. I mean, it could be from way back.
Yeah, it might be
I
an
don't
old,
know.
because we haven't, the last, 3 years that I've been here, 3.5, but never heard of
That
that.
never came up when I was
Yeah.
there. so.
I can check into it, and I can send a letter to the county just reiterating that sex offenders and some of the violent offenders don't have any business around children or around parks or other city facilities. There's lots of other, most of these people doing community service are working off misdemeanors,
Yeah.
DWIs.
Yeah, it
stuff
should
like
be
that.
just minor offenses, not a sex offender.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw him. I thought he was just hanging out with the dude that was working there. Okay.
I can get
I
together
don't
with
even
her,
know who
get
the
coached.
individual was. I know she contacted me with, her name, but I don't know.
Get together, I guess, with Bayanis then, Commissioner Bayanis.
Okay.
You might be the sheriff on that also.
So moving forward, after a long discussion with Captain Lozoya on Thursday, he had 2 grants that were getting ready to come in, and he basically said if the grants did not go through and didn't happen, it was going to affect PD drastically, where he wouldn't have the funding to be able to have a lot of the people to stay on board. So we talked about that, and he asked, and so I contracted Megan Antrim to come do the contracts because he stated he needed her. So she signed a contract to do 20 hours a week. And then once we get done she gets done with Daryl and all of our other financial stuff, then we'll decide whether she wants to, or we decide whether we want to continue with the contract or not. We also have a contract with Melissa Kobos, and My understanding was that that contract was put in place when Jessica was still here. Melissa still has not had any direction on when she can come to help the girls up front. And with that contract, we have ACH, which is the electronic payments that we have at the bank. We had been using a username and password from an employee that left 6 years ago. And when our new billing supervisor was trying to do the drafts and the wire transfers, she locked the machine up, and so she called the bank to try and get some assistance. And when they asked who she was, they told her she was not a valid user, and they suspended our services because we were committing fraud because we were using someone else's user and password. So we have not been able to log into our online banking since last Thursday.
What do we need to do to correct it?
Well, you just did.
That's what I signed off on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna overnight that paperwork to them. I'm going to, so that they can hopefully get it up and running so that Abel can do payroll. If not, we're gonna have to manually cut payroll checks. And finance cannot log on to look at anything, to look at.
Can we have a
numbers.
backup on that one also instead of just one person?
There's actually 5 people on.
Fine.
Okay, and they're all gone.
The mayor and I, well, no, at the backup we had 3,
Right.
which was the one that left 6 years ago. It was Melissa Cobos and it was me. And now that they're all gone, we have to put, so the mayor and I are the authorizing representatives. And then under that, we have 5 other people, one being Abel because he needs to cut payroll, and one being one of the girls up front to be able to do the drafts to pay things. So that's been suspended and still is until we get done with all that paperwork.
How long will it take once they receive the paperwork?
She said that she should be able to have us up and running by tomorrow night, which will be good because Abel starts payroll. When do you start? On Thursday or tomorrow?
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. So if it doesn't happen, he's gonna have to cut checks and we're gonna have to sign checks
Right.
for a long time.
So how many people do we have up in the department?
3.
Is this supposed to be up there?
Melissa was supposed to come and train,
Yeah.
but she hasn't,
She's a contractor now, so she can't be doing that.
yeah, she cannot be keystroking. Contract with Joe Luis Ramirez, which is one of his.
Cynthia, can you just pause for a minute, because I'm trying to get caught up, I can't hear very well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what I heard was, you got Megan on contract for 20 hours a week to help on the finance side, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I heard about Melissa Cobos. What's the status of what's going on in the front office? And part of the discussions we talked about at the last council meeting, how many people are up in the billing office, in the front, the utility office?
We have 2 people that receive payments for the gas and water. And then we have the billing
Okay.
supervisor that is basically keystroking behind the scenes. So
Okay,
a total of 3.
okay. And what I think I understood was Melissa Cobos was scheduled to train them in terms of the operations, is that correct?
Yes, sir. There was a contract, but I have not seen that contract either. They were
Okay.
trying to track it.
And is that a contract you want to go implement for Melissa to train them?
Yeah. I mean, the girls don't even know how to set up a formula. They don't know where to put stuff. I mean, we've got,
Okay,
To get them
and
up and
Melissa's
running.
willing to go do that work?
from what I understand, she had the discussion with Jessica and the contract was drawn up between them. But I have
Okay.
not seen or been able to find that contract. So I don't even know what's in the contract.
So
All I
you
know,
might, on a suggestion, you might just want to ask Melissa if she has a copy of that and ask her to bring it in and have a discussion with you so you're up to speed. Make sure you're comfortable with it and you get Melissa to get them trained.
okay,
And have a time frame for the training too.
okay.
Okay? And if I understood then on the third item, the ACH issues, it sounds like the documentation is in place to get that back in shape so we get the ACH results, so you can do payroll, and I presume be able to make deposits from a water and gas billing and all that standpoint.
Yes,
Until we
sir.
get that one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
the next contract is Joe Luis Ramirez, and he was contracted to help with the streets. His contract expires on August the 30th, and Eddie asked that we renew that contract so that they can complete the projects that are still pending.
So do you need any authority from council to go do that, or you can move forward on that?
I can move forward on that.
Very good,
This
thank
is just
you.
FYI.
Yep.
2 cars were transferred from 15 Acres to the airport so that they could have a car to transport all the people that land there, like the doctors to the hospital and stuff.
Yep.
Eddie also, I'm sorry, going back to the streets, Eddie requested a stripping machine for the streets at $2,800 for crosswalks and to get ready for school.
Well, that's the striping, so we can put down paint.
Yes, sir, to stripe the crosswalks.
Yep. Do you need anything from council on that, or you can move forward on that?
It's only $2,800, so I can move forward on that.
School
Okay.
starts pretty soon.
Yeah, that's why he wanted to see about that.
Yeah, because I know the old machinist was in pretty bad shape last time they was out at the airport with me.
Yes, sir. And I spoke to Jess Washington from the water department from the old city hall. She's requested that all of the work orders come back to city hall and that we generate the work orders here and the pictures and then have the departments come up and pick up the work orders so they can get them. They were being faxed to her, and sometimes the fax didn't come through, or they were slipping through the cracks and they would get lost from the fax machine or not get there at all. When I asked why they were moved, she said that because they were told, they being the water department, were told that their staff could not come to City Hall because they were disrupting the girls up front. So after meeting with Johnny and Jessica, I told her that we would send those back to City Hall, and if need be, I could get those gathered and Gio could present those to the water department, or to the guys, and they could move forward with that. So again, that's just FYI.
Yeah, because we were having a bunch of those guys come up here to the front, and I should drive by here and see all the water guys do that. I mean, their supervisors should be able to pick them up and distribute them.
Right. And then in one of our weekly meetings, the employees requested that the interviews to fill positions, if we would consider going back to a one-on-one, just because the last interview panel that was here, there was 7 of us, and we were in interviews from 8:30 to 6:45 that night. So it took them away from their work. So they wanted to go back to what we used to do before, have a one-on-one with the applicant, and then the supervisor would come to City Hall, visit with the HR. They would have their one-on-one, and then if everything was in place, then they would bring in the applicant to make the job offer.
That's a good idea.
But they're not okay sitting all day through a 6-panel, you know. So again, FYI on that.
Sounds like a good idea, given you've got supervisors only have so many hours to get some work done, they're shorthanded, and they're trying to be out in the field as well,
Yes,
given
sir.
there's no one between you and them.
Right. And we do have an applicant that applied for the streets, but we don't have Brooke still set up to do the background checks. And again, we can't use anybody else's user ID to do that. So until she gets up and running to do the background checks, we can't do those or even look at hiring anyone.
How long
How long
will it
will
take?
it
She needs to get with Daryl, and she's been bombarded since she came on board.
Okay, let's set aside
Sometime?
some time, and then let's get that done. That's important.
Okay. Okay, the next one, there is, just FYI, a solid waste advisory committee meeting in El Paso on August the 29th, and Marisa Quintela from the COG reached out to me and see if I would consider attending that meeting, just because we do have a position in that advisory board.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, do you have time for that, Cynthia?
Ask me next week, but probably no.
And the reason I ask is that
It's just that day.
something
Just a
that
one
you
day.
do?
Yeah, it's just a one day. If for some reason I can't make it happen, then I'll ask her and see if there's anyone else that can attend.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Angelina, since she's your solid waste person, might be, you know, in terms of sanitation, might be good for her.
That'd be
That's
good.
just giving you an option.
Okay. There is a DMR report that needs to be submitted to TCEQ on the 20th of every month. Again, this is another one that Gio and Jess worked on today, trying to get me on as a user, because that report needs to get there before the 20th, and I'm not a user to be able to do that, to keystroke that. That was Jessica's role. So we're trying to get me up and running, and just because Jess is going to be on vacation next week, and so is G. And that's another thing, we're trying to get all the passwords and users up and current, because everyone that was on those is no longer here. With like TML, AT&T, Verizon, TCEQ, I know the mayor's still on there, he gets notified through all that. Cell phones. We've got employees that have dropped their cell phones in water and have been damaged and not workable. So Rod Potton gives me his work phone because I messed mine up, and he goes to his personal work phone, and then we're using whoever has an upgrade to replace that one, but we've deleted the mayor's upgrade in the event he needs it done. So I guess Abel and I have kind of been talking back and forth on that. The upgrades are free,
Okay.
but again, we eliminate another 2 years if another phone goes up and we use someone else's upgrade. And none of our cell phones are insured.
And they're pricey.
Abel, what did they tell us, 700 and what a month?
$12 for 63 lines.
$12 for 63 lines?
Yeah,
Per month,
per month.
per month.
$12 to have
Okay.
it
I
insured?
was insured, my gosh, remember you break, I've got 10 cell phones just in my little company, they're all insured, and we had the same sorts of issues, so we replaced.
What's the deduct? The deductible. We didn't need to find that out, because some, I mean, I've got, mine's always insured, but the deduct has kept increasing. So we need to look at that one. Now, not,
Yeah.
not
And that's through what? Through what
Verizon.
company?
Verizon.
Verizon.
They're the only ones that don't go down, AT&T goes down.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm retired.
I remember having.
Verizon has better service out here than AT&T. In my
Right.
opinion.
What's that?
In my opinion, Verizon has better service in this area than AT&T.
Yeah, because they don't go through Midland, Odessa, they come through another direction. AT&T gets hit in Midland, Odessa, all the oil fields. It's easier to cut it and pay the fine than to call for a locate.
And the AC is down at the visitor center, so they've got box fans they're working on right now. I was just told today that they have a swamp cooler, and it's been repaired 2 or 3 different times, so I don't know if you guys are okay if we put a window unit in there, Frigidaire window unit, to just kind of keep them,
Yeah, it'll probably cover just that center section.
but that's all they need.
Yeah.
Fire hydrants. I have had several emails come in that the fire hydrants on that grant 7217,000 that are going in on Lucy Escobedo's board. I don't know who walked with the engineer, but these fire hydrants are getting put in front of property owners' homes. I went out with Donnie today to look at 2 that were a major concern that they keep bringing back and forth. If we put them where they want to put them, they're going to run over them because you can see the tire tracks where they don't stay within the streets. They get to the intersection and kind of cut into it. Johnny says we can put them there, but we're gonna have to put barriers
Like a couple of holes.
for it, he said. So we need to look at the barriers, we need to look at the concrete by the time they put them in. And this is all the way around. And two of them, he said, that were they selected that we've got 4-inch pipe. And he says that that will not support the fire hydrant.
Why would they select that then?
Again, I don't know who walked with the engineer and looked at all this.
Well, what did the engineer know what he's doing? I'm sorry.
That was my question. I mean, you're an engineer, my God. Well, I take it back because AT&T engineers would put a splice in the middle of the creek. So,
Well, and their first concern was the water lines were on the right and they wanted to put fire hydrants on the left. So they wanted us to cut all the way across, and Johnny said, no, the water lines are on this side, this is where they need to go. But then they put them in the middle of property owners.
we need to sit down and meet with the engineers.
So we hired an engineering firm that was part of that grant, correct? It was, so why, my first thing, I'd pick up the phone and call the engineer and say, hey, get out here and help us sort this out.
Okay?
Like I said,
We haven't even done it. We had like the
the plan.
plans and stuff, we looked at all that.
Well, see, and Hat Construction's already gone, Hatco Construction has already gone out there and basically already made all the holes and barricaded it so that they would get them done.
Yeah, I think the important question, Cynthia, and I think Maria's kind of hitting on it, is which department head has responsibility to make sure those fire hydrants are put in correctly? Because if they weren't involved, that's why we're running those issues right now. Sounds like Johnny's the closest one on it, but sounds like you want to get Johnny and the engineer and the Hatco to go have a discussion. Says, hey guys, you know, we never should have gotten this point without Johnny being involved.
Right, okay, I can do that. I've had 3 employees ask where we are with the master fee schedule.
So, you know, that was the city manager left that one last, because I recall the very specific discussions about that. That's something we council have to go work, but I think, Cynthia, you're gonna have to reconvene and pull that together, and so we can look at that master fee schedule yet again. We started that last November, December.
Okay. I've got a contact, Rich Hunter from Novo Solutions called and wanted to know if we needed to move forward with his software for work orders and assessed management with the discussions he had had with Jessica previously. I told him we were on hold for now because Brooke Upchurch from HR had some suggestions on some of that software that it would help every department and not just the work orders. So I put that on hold until Brooke can actually get us more information, and then we can decide what we need to do moving forward on that.
Makes sense.
Commissioner Ortega and Eddie and myself met day before yesterday. He's come to us to offer the county's assistance with our roads. Eddie had pretty much met with him, and they were going to look at the streets, and then Eddie would mill whatever he needed to do and look at the streets that didn't need too much work on there, that had the thick. And I mentioned to Commissioner Ortega that in the newspaper last week, Mr. Causey had said that we didn't need any help and that we had the equipment and staffing to do that. He's actually is lending us a blade operator, and he will get with Eddie. The blade operator is going to confirm with Eddie what projects need to get done ASAP, which are
Frenchie was totally against him using his folks to help the city.
Well, when I mentioned that to Commissioner Ortega, he told me, well, Mr. Causey works for us.
That's right.
So I'm telling you that we will lend you a layout.
Good.
So they're gonna start on this on Monday of next week.
That's correct.
I don't know. Eddie said that he would get back to me.
Yeah, let me know where I want to go and check it out.
Okay.
And it'll probably be good, Cynthia, since we saw the report from KSA at the last meeting or whenever it was, and then we got handed, it'd probably be a good item to have on information to discussion, just what does that report tell us from a street standpoint and priorities, since we have data and we can correlate against the roads that many of us drove on our own wards to make sure we're aligned.
Okay.
And that'll probably help Eddie figure out his priorities.
Okay. Another discussion that Commissioner Ortega had was that we probably needed to, and Maria, this is probably something you need to kind of keep up with or look into, a discussion between the county and the city to get a permit for a bigger or an additional landfill. Just because we're getting a lot of stuff brought in and we're having to ship out on a daily basis. We're maxing out on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think John had said something about it a couple of months ago. Yeah.
You're under a 20-ton a day area exemption landfill permit. And to get that larger, you have to have a different type of landfill permit. It's pretty expensive to get when you get it. And I know there's a lot of waste in this area going to Presidio and Odessa.
Yes, we're distributing to both areas. So maybe just a discussion, Maria, with them and see. Commissioner Ortega also mentioned that there's Chris Cornell with CSA, which is Andy Stubbs and Jana's business.
Okay.
To get a quote on the gravel and the dirt. They're closer and they're probably gonna be cheaper. And we could actually get Eddie to have a discussion with them on the size of the rock that we need or on the gravel. He also mentioned that there is 2 licensed people in the area with the licensing for the water and the wastewater. Jim Roberts out of Marathon being one, and Scott Adams out of Fort Davis.
Didn't on the gravel and the stubs, Rick, didn't Eric talk to the Stubbs right before he left about us getting a price on the gravel?
Yeah, so I don't recall specifically, Mayor, but I believe that he did. And those deals kind of get cut, on an annual basis. But that'd certainly be an easy discussion to open back up.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're just right down the street, because we're having to go way the heck out there to buy it, and that's an added expense, and we can get it here. I mean, we can save a ton of money on
We could
that.
save a lot.
Move forward. Yep, and I can help them out if you want, see if the mayor can.
Okay, and my last thing is that our city attorney will also be our city prosecutor.
And I went to the municipal court today and started talking with our very capable municipal court clerk. And I've also talked with the municipal court judge, Sandy Stewart, and we're going to work together to try to clean up the docket. There's a lot of old cases that need to be cleaned up, come up with some protocols for handling cases timely, have monthly dockets, and try to keep things from getting back up like they have in the past.
And just FYI on that, from December of 2018 to June of 2019, we actually spent $50,643 on the prosecutor.
What kind of return are we getting?
From our,
Municipal court.
do you know how much we're getting back from the courts?
Not at
Not
this
anywhere
moment.
close to this.
No.
Not anywhere close to this.
There should be plenty of fine. Court costs money coming back.
That's a good idea.
There was a 7-page docket given to me yesterday. So there's a lot of cases for that.
And I did authorize one of our fleet trucks needs tires. And it's no cost to us, but just the dollar figure on that was 800. $869. So, and then of course, Johnny came in from the water just right before we came back in here. He's having to get repair clamps for all the work that they're having to do. And for those supplies, the minimum, out of the 3 quotes, the smallest one was $6,116 for
I
those
wonder we
supplies that
can't-
come in.
Split that with Martha. Because we're going back and forth borrowing equipment from them, so you might want to check, see, Martha didn't want to bear half the cost of that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions I was gonna ask Cynthia. Do they have enough spare parts to meet their needs? Because they've been consuming them a lot. And I presume if Martha buys a part from us, we charge them and vice versa, but I would certainly think we'd have stock on hand.
Johnny said we didn't hardly have anything in stock available now because we've had so much work out there that has.
Yeah, I get that stock built back up, given what you described. Even I was amazed, and I stay pretty close on leaks. I'm amazed at how many leaks you've had, and Johnny's and the guys have had to work, so I would certainly get that stock built up. We know we're gonna consume it at some point, and given what they gotta do, I'm glad to hear you're going to get parts lined up.
Okay. And then I provided you a copy of the city attorney's contract, just FYI, for you guys to just keep you informed of what's going on. Did you not get it?
And it has it's my standard attorney-client contract with the same financial terms on it that we discussed last week at the city council meeting. Terms being that my hourly rate is $200 an hour for city attorney work.
I think they're on your desk. I'm sorry.
You get this, or?
No, she's not. She made them, and I know we made them.
Yes,
And then just one last thing that happened today as well. I didn't get to speak to the gentleman, but he talked to the girls up front because I was in and out of meetings. But this gentleman called and wanted to let us know that the first water issues at the Alpine Heights, he was fully aware that they had turned off that water. And when it was addressed by him, they were like, well, don't say anything, we'll just blame it on the city. So I asked the girls to give me his number, and I asked him to write up a statement letting us know exactly what instructions he had or why he decided to come forward with this. But I don't have the gentleman's name and or the details of that, other than that he had just been instructed to say that it was on the city property. And then this week, we have another issue with Alpine Heights. And when Johnny went out there, it was on their side. So he notified them on that as well.
See, when I was there, we had good pressure on our side, and then they would take another pressure reading on their connection. Everything was okay on our side. We had good water pressure, Everything was on their side. And the guy said he had been working on a certain section, so they actually cut it off, forgot to turn it back on. But I knew that going back to when it happened. But they tried to blame the city, and then the manager tried to put the blame on us also by writing a letter condemning us that it was our fault. But, I was out there with Johnny's guys and stuff like that, and it was on their end of it.
Yeah.
So Cynthia, when you're here, I'd like to know who specifically that was, because it's in my ward.
Yes, sir.
I know the manager, I know the people who've been working up there, and so I'd really like to get the details on that, okay?
Yes, sir, I'll get that to you.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Do you have
That's all
anything
you
for me?
Wow! God!
And just FYI, if you guys have a agenda items, can I get them like
I can't put it
early
on the agenda.
tomorrow? Because I'm like overwhelmed with this.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so you're done with your report.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, city staff updates, none, public hearings, none, consent agendas, none, information or discussion, none, and action items, none, city council comments, starting on my right, none, none.
No.
Thank you for the two that came in,
Hold on, I'm up here, Mayor.
I forgot you're on, still standby. Go ahead.
I just want to thank Cynthia for all the work you've done this last week. You've got your hands full with a lot. Having this meeting today, I think, was helpful, at least from my standpoint, getting up to speed about what you're off doing and what you've been doing, so thanks.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thank y'all for coming. You're on?
I'm going to adjourn.
I second that.
No discussion on that. Meeting adjourned.
Go back to your vacation.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy the coolness while you can.
Yep.
Okay.